Mamash, you're the best. Wow. Ralph, you forgive me for sending you up.
Why would I forgive you? Thank you.
I know, it's a lot of it. Come sit here.
No, I like to be able to look at you too.
Well, you have to go to lift to your mother, so sit here with the table, darling. Okay, let's do one more song. La 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 Okay, let's learn fast.
Oldie but goodie.
Fast, fast, fast.
Oh, this is
Oh, okay, this Shabbos before Pesach is called Shabbos HaGadol, the great Shabbos. What's a great person? Small people are all good or bad. Or they're happy or they're sad. They're always, this is very important to remember. You know, when God says to Moses, tell Pharaoh to let us go, so Moshe says to Pharaoh, like Kehu Ivrim, the God of the Hebrews, sends a message to you. And, you know, we are called Hebrews, because the Gemara says, in Hebrew, Eva means the other side, right? Because like the world is on one side, and we're on the other side. Okay, this sounds good. But just got to be a little bit better than that. Is it really true we are on one side and always on the other side? Because we have no connection, right? So here comes the Ishbitz of Torah. Ishbitz is like the master of all the masters. This is the deepest step. The whole world can only stand on one side. They're too limited to be on both sides. Both sides. Think about it. You know what a great person is? A small person is on this side of the ocean or on the other side. If you give out great, expanding, right? Both sides. Right? What are the two sides? You know, the world only knows, oh, I love you, or I hate you. Or if I love you, I'm infinite glad. You know, the truth is, Pesach is the most loved holiday, right? Mamash God lifted it out of slavery, then Mamash, like, the light which is shining, say the night is awesome. Awesome, right? On that night, you're so limited, right? You know, like, so careful, right? Well, you know something very deep. By the world, when I love somebody very much, I'm not careful what I say. It's my wife, it's my children. Who cares, right? I can do anything. Because they're only on one side. Or I'm open, I love it, lovey, whatever comes to my mouth. The truth is, when you love someone, you have to be so much more careful. Right? But you see, the world is too small to love and to be so careful. You know what most people say, when I love God, God doesn't mind, right? I can do anything I want to. Not true. And you know what the most important thing is? Pesach is the most loved, it's the holiday of Abraham, right? And it's the most laws in the world.
How's it the holiday of Abraham?
Because God took us out from Egypt because he promised Abraham. And also the beginning is always Abraham. And you see, I'll tell you something else. On one hand, when you love somebody for no reason, it takes a lot of greatness, right? The world, even when they love something, they judge. Why did Avraham Avinu let every poor man into the house? We should judge them first, you know. Do you have lies or not? Do you have bed bugs? No. Are you a addict? Are you a pagan? Right? What's the big thing about Abraham? He entered the covenant of God. He sees 3 pagans. Why did he let them into the house? It's pagans. See, on one hand, Abraham is so bad. Avraham is so big. On one hand, you know, Avraham Avinu even prayed for Sodom that night. The night of sin, he prayed for Sodom, right? Teach us love you. I don't care if Sodom, they're perverted. No. I pray for you. You should become a man. Doesn't mean I permit you pervertedness. No. See what the world is? When they're in a loving mood, they have compassion with all the murders. And when they're not in a loving mood, then they kill everyone. They cannot stand on both sides. So on one hand, Pesach is the strictest holiday there is, and the most loving. So Seder night, first of all, you know, we just remember Seder night, what is really the light which is coming down is the deepest light there is. You know, can you imagine with how much love God created the world? Because basically judging begins after he created the world. Right? When he created the world, there was nothing to judge, right? There was no world. There was nobody there. Say something very deep, you know. Imagine I meet this girl, she's very beautiful. I love her so much. And the more I get to know her, the more I judge her, right? Then it falls apart. They always say, why do people get divorced after they're married? Why not before? Might as well knock it off before, right? Well, the answer is, they're not close enough to judge each other. Right? Before God created the world, there was nothing to judge, right? After they're married, I don't like the way you brush your teeth. I don't like the towel, the color of the towel, right? I mean, I'm saying stupid things, right? But there's something to it, right? So on one hand, Seder night is mamish the way God loved the world before He created the world. We need to say like, you see, if I love you for a reason, I'm a slave. To love somebody for a reason is already, I'm addicted to this. You know, take the world. They only like people of the same religion. You know what that means? They're slaves, right? They are slave to their religion. You do the same thing, I love you. You do something else, I don't love you. You know what Rav Nachman says? You think when you are a servant of God, you're not a slave? You're also a slave. You can be a slave to God's service. That's also bad. Even to serve God like a slave is also bad. Go on, right? Sure, you have to serve God, not like the slave. You see, to Pharaoh we were slaves. To God we are servants, not slaves. Slave means I'm in chains, right? Not in chains. I'll tell you as an example, right? It's not 100%, but a little bit. You know, Yom Kippur night, you have to go to shul. Especially if you're the rabbi of the city, you better go to shul, right? The whole city is waiting, right? So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Raditcher was the Holy of Holies 200 years ago. He's on his way to synagogue. And Baditcher, thousands of people waiting for him, right? He passed by a house and he hears a baby crying. He walks into the house and he sees the parents left for the synagogue and the baby's all alone. So he didn't go to the synagogue. He stayed with the baby. You know how much freedom it takes to do that? You just know, I have to go to the synagogue, they're waiting, and let's stand by the window and look out, maybe somebody's going, you know. You have to be free. Not so simple, you know. Okay. Also something else. The Gemara says that until we came out of Egypt, God was feeding us. You know, a little baby. Parents feeding him. Imagine you're 25 years old, your parents like this. They're giving you $1,000, make your own business. You see, when we came out of Egypt, God says, I give you so much life. Start your own business. That means God is expecting us to do something else. Seder night, Mamish, you're becoming a servant. You've got to do something. Right. Okay, we have to learn so much, but I just want to make it fast.
So what's the difference between a servant versus a slave?
I'll tell you what, a slave is someone who's crawling on the floor, right? Remember learning it? A manservant, how am I showing to you that I'm your servant? I bow down before you. I'm lying on the floor. What does the world do when they're your masters? They put their dirty feet on your face, right? What's God do when He's us, our master? He lifts us up, right?
Does it have anything to do with choice, Shlomo? Be a servant or a slave? We have a choice to be
You
a
have
servant.
choice, yeah.
But a slave is
You have choice. See, you can believe in God and do every mitzvah like a slave. You hear what you want to say?
I think to be a slave means that you're identified, you're not there. But to be a servant, you're there. You're there with being present to be there with God. Or
Julie, you're not 100% right, you're 2 billion% right. But it's, you're saying in different words than I say. You see, God doesn't want us to annihilate ourselves before. Without saying anything bad, from all religions, we don't fall down before God all the time. Rosh Hashanah 1 time, Yom Kippur 3 times. And every other religion, crawling on the floor, getting up, falling down. Let me ask you, when we stood on Mount Sinai, how do you think we were standing on Mount Sinai? Also, you think we were lying on the floor, Moshe Rabbeinu says, put your nose on the floor there. It says, Ponim v'fonim mamish, we were eye to eye with God. And here, I want you, this is a Torah from the Baal Shem, which is a must to remember. When we daven, it says, V'chol koima, the Fonecha Zeshtachve, and every straight standing human being bows down before you. So the way the word translates means that every human being falls down before God. Doesn't make sense. So the Baal Shem says, V'chol koima. The way to show respect to a human being is to make myself small. I'm 5'7", and before you, I'm becoming one foot. Right? The way to serve God is v'chol kaima, make yourself as tall as possible. The taller you make yourself, the more you honor God. You see what it is? It's so deep, you know. I don't want to say anything bad, you know. In most schools, discipline means that they cut the children short. Cutting the children short, right? Put the fear of God in them. And by the Rebbes, is to make yourself as big as possible. Mamash too. Unbelievable. Okay, so Seder night. First, let's go over first again. Sunday night. Yeah. Let me tell you one more Torah visual. What is a great person? It's really beautiful. A great person. You know, it's called the Great Shabbos. Why is it called great? So he says, a small person judges for what he sees. A great person looks into the inside. Right? Until we came out of Egypt, we looked at us being slaves for 210 years as a terrible thing. And this Shabbos, God enlightened us that it was so good for us. Suddenly we looked at it like great people. You know, the Medrash says, you know, when did we learn what it is to suffer in this world? Right? You know, take a person who has never suffered. You know, remember we were learning? Nothing is as whole as the broken heart. You know, a person... Hey, now you wanted to do something?
What? No.
You wanted to sell the Chametz or anything?
No.
You just came.
I can't say.
What? You have to go. Are you talking to Nehemiah?
Yeah, I'm going to do this.
Hey, give him my 2 zillion regards, yeah? Tell him I miss him like Kate. Tell him maybe to give me a ring sometimes for no reason.
Okay.
Tell this lady there to come in.
Yes, like Bill.
You hear, friends? I'll tell you something, you know, like... You know what a small person is? A small person sees a poor man, right? And he has nothing in his pockets, right? It's disgusting. A great person doesn't look at his pocket. Maybe his heart is, maybe he's the richest man in the world, right? Inside. I'll tell you an unbelievable story. How are you? Let's see now. You know, remember Rabbi Leibele Eger? I'm throwing names at you. Came to Kotsk. And just take it 180 years ago. Kotsk Rebbe was so the father of Rabbi Leibele Eger was very much against it. But anyway, he went there and he came back. So his father says, what's going on in Kotsk? What did you see there? He says, you know, in Kotsk, they are very reluctant to give honor to anybody. Because, you know, you want me to give you honor? Let's see if you deserve it, right? So he says, in Kotsk, the only person to get up when he walks in is the Rebbe. There's one more person to get up to. He says, when Yossele, the biggest schlepper in town, when he comes in, everybody gets up. He says, who's Yossele the schlepper? He says, he doesn't even have money to buy a yarmulke. So he has two leaves tied to his head. His pants, each side is a different color, you know, from another pair of pants. Shirt, who knows? And he has no shoes, but he has a sack around his feet. And he says, you know why we give him so much honor? Because he's so humble. So his father says, what's so big about him? He doesn't even have money for a yarmulke. He has a sack of shoes. Why should he be proud? So Rabbi Leibele Eger came back and he told the Kotsk Rebbe. My father says, what's so big about him? Kotsk Rebbe says, listen, he's so poor, he doesn't even have money for yarmulke. He is so poor that he don't have money for shoes. And he is hungry. And he is hungry. You know how deep this is? Usually when people have nothing, they have to imagine there's something, right? But if you're a great person, this doesn't even register. If your yarmulke is 2 leaves or who cares, right? You measure your whole life in a different level. Okay, now I want you to open your hearts. The Masechta, the tractate of Psuchim begins, Oyer Laba'asa, the light of the 14th. Basically, in Hebrew, I want you to know this is so beautiful. We always think that the night is dark, right? It's not true. There's 2 kinds of light. There's daylight, and there's the light of the night. See, the light of the night is so much deeper. So much deeper. Remember, we're learning it 1,000 times. You know, I love this girl very much, so I'm standing 12 o'clock, broad daylight, people always look at the sun. How does the sun do? Doesn't go, right? Oh, I love somebody very much at night, standing there looking at the moon. You know why? Because the sun is the outside light of the world, and the moon is the inside light. You know what inside means? You don't see everything. It's a little bit light, a little bit dark. Something else, right? You know, when I tell you about another person, I know them 2 billion%. Okay, I'm looking at them with the eyes of the sun. You don't know. I can say I know everything about you when you were born, where you live. I know how your nose looks like, so. The night, so much deeper. So basically, you see, a free person, a slave person is somebody who judges everything by the outside. What's the beginning of our freedom? Ah, the night. When did we walk out of Egypt? When did the process of redemption begin? First night. See, walking out of Egypt, you see, you have to realize two things. When we were slaves in Egypt, we were slaves mentally, spiritually, and then also physically. So physical redemption took place in the morning. We walked out of Egypt. In fact, we walked out exactly 12 o'clock. Pharaoh shouldn't say, they went out in the middle of the night and we, no. 12 o'clock, or broad daylight, we walked out. But the redemption inside happened at night. So you see, Seder night is not so much the redemption, the physical redemption of Egypt. Seder night, what we really celebrate, is the inside redemption. So deep. And this is mamash really so beautiful. What is the deepest redemption? The deepest redemption is if God shines into you, that you know who you are. That you know who you are. Your place in the world. I think I told you the Netziv. Did I tell you? Yeah, maybe yes. Yeah? About the books? No. The Netziv, who was one of the, whatever I say want to be now, 200 years ago. He was a Misnagid in Volozh, what was he about? He came out with a book, a book. The deepest in the world. He made a big feast. And this is the story. He says, I'll tell you why I made a feast. He said, I want you to know, when I was little, I didn't want to learn. I just 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, running around like a dog, right? Every day I'm going to school, to Cheder. The moment the Rebbe sits down, I'm out of the door, and I come back at night. I don't want to learn, that's it. So one day, over here, my Rebbe talking to my father. He says to my father, let's face it, nothing good will ever come of him. He doesn't want to learn. He's not interested in anything. Why did you make a good tailor out of him? That night I realized, I don't want to be a tailor. So I put my head into it. And he says, and he was really the greatest scholar in the world. So he says, so in my dream last night, an unbelievable dream. He says, I dreamt that I remained a tailor. I became a tailor. I was a good tailor, you know. Honest tailor, didn't cheat anybody, sitting there fixing pants. After 120 years, I'm coming up to heaven. And here the angels come. Now he has written maybe 50, 60 books, you know. I mean, each book is a major breakthrough in learning. He says, I'm coming up to heaven, and the angels bringing in all the books which I could have written. God was a crying. He said, you see, if you would have been learning, look what you took away from the world, because you didn't want to learn. So you became a tailor. All those books were never written. He says, and I was so much in pain that I woke up. So he says, today I'm making a feast. That thank God I had the guts not to become a tailor. You know what a slave is? He's a good man. A good street cleaner. A good garbage collector. Well, Gewalt, what you could have been. Gewalt, what you could have been. But in order to feel what I could have been, God has to show me a great light, right? Now listen to this unbelievable thing. During the day, the sun shows me who I am, which is also good, right? At night, what is God showing me every night? What I could have been. What I could be, right? Not what I could have been. God forbid, hopefully I'm still living for 100 years. What I could be, right? You know what Chametz is? It's cute. Nothing wrong. But you know Chametz, the door rises. But you know what it is? It rises, but there's nothing to it. Nothing to it, right? And you see, this is what I told you. When you are nothing, you have to make yourself so big. Because you are nothing, right? This is unbelievable. The Yismach Moshe, one day he thought to himself, you know, I'm a great rabbi, and Heilige Mordechai's coming on. I'm a great rabbi, and so much vanity, so much arrogance. I think I should become a tailor. So he goes down to a tailor and he says, I want you to teach me how to be a tailor. He starts talking to the tailor, and the tailor says to him, you know, I'm the best tailor in town. He thought to himself, where's this arrogance coming from? Right? So he realized tailors are also full of arrogance. Let's become a garbage collector. He goes down to the garbage collectors. He says, could you teach me the trade? So the garbage collector says, you came to the right person. Because I happen to be the best garbage collector in town. So I said, this is crazy. Even garbage collectors walk around with so much pride, so I might as well stay around, you know. You know what Chametz is? Chametz is false pride. And here I want you to know the deepest thing. When you really are the most you can be, you don't need this arrogance. You don't need it. Have you ever seen a poor schlepper has suddenly $1,000 in his pocket? Folks not talking about it all the time, right? Have you ever heard Rothschild walk into a Rothschild? You know how much money I have? You know, there's in the Gemara, it's a world Torah. Take something, when it's empty, whatever there is makes a lot of noise. When it's completely filled, it doesn't make any noise, right? Rothschild's money doesn't make any noise, because he really has it, right? If you have $2 in your pocket, see something awesome. It's true, you know. You know, I don't want to say anything bad, but sometimes coming to what? Heilige Mordechai. Mordechai ja Gewalt. You see, Mordechai is only the money which makes noise, but not its wisdom, you know. Mordechai is always humble. However, give me your attention. You know, if you are, I'll tell you something awesome. I think I mentioned to you, 2 great rabbis came over from Europe, right after the war. It was like, it was 46, 47, I don't want to mention names. The first 2 great rabbis who came. One was a Chassid, one was a Misnagi, I don't want to mention names. One was into mysticism, and the other one was like, just learning. So, first, they introduce a person who was into learning. Someone gets on stage and says, I want you to know he is the greatest scholar in the world today. And, okay, then he has to talk. He says, no, I'm not the greatest scholar. And he says, no, I'm so embarrassed. And he talks like that. Then he starts talking what he has to say. Then the Chassidish Yid, Chassidish Rebbe, he says, Mama, she's the biggest tzaddik today. He's a Rebbe, Rebbe, you know. gets on stage and says what he has to say. He says, no, I'm not. You know, the one who was really not was so happy that they said he is. So he wanted to talk so much about it, right? But he can't say, I'm so glad. They say, I'm the greatest. He says, no, I'm not. You know, I'm saying a stupid joke. It's an old Borscht Belt joke. That a woman of 85 is standing on 2nd Avenue and 5th Street, and she yells, help, 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 rape, rape. 85 years old. So the police cars, 15 police cars coming, and I say, hey, Bobashi, what's happening? She says, rape, someone wants to rape me. Gotta be blind or something. So they say, where? She's not now. She says 60 years ago. So I said 60 years ago. So what do you want now? I like to talk about it. Okay, you hear, friends. Now listen to this. What do I need to fix my neshama? I need two things. I need God to show me what I could be. And also I need God to show me why didn't I do it yet? What keeps me? What prevents me from not being it? You know what the Ishbitzer says, what's Chametz? It's not bad, you can eat it all year long. But Pesach, when God shows you who you are, what you could be, Chametz is this one thing which prevents you from being what you could be. Chametz is this one thing. You know, everybody knows Chametz is a crumb b'mashu. It doesn't have to be 10,000 tons. One crumb. You know what keeps us? What prevents us really from being what we are? One stupid crumb. And I want you to open your hearts, it's so deep. On Yom Kippur, I'm standing before God all day long confessing my mistakes. The night before Pesach, when I'm getting the Chametz together, I'm not standing there and telling God what I did wrong. Because I realized one thing. Everything I did wrong was because of this one crumb. And you know, Satan, I'm not saying, I'll be better, I'll do this. Don't talk so much. Let's get rid of this one crumb, right? Just one crumb, right? And you know where the crumb is? Not in the center, in the corners, right? Where do you look for chametz? In the corner. So I don't bother looking at the corner. Hey, in a corner, that's where it is, right? I push it off in a corner, it's lying there. Sometimes lies in a hole. Cute little hole. Who looks? You better look. And after I get rid of this crumb, you know, there's no stopping. So good. I want you to know something so deep. You know, today I don't want to say anything marriage counseling, right? They talk. It's good Yom Kippur talk. But you know what they need? They need to find this one little piece of chametz which prevents it. There is one crumb between people which doesn't let them get together. There's always one crumb. Let's see, a lot of people sometimes, people say, I and my children are not so good, we don't understand each other. Suddenly you got 10 years for therapy. I mean, I'm not knocking it, maybe it's just. But the first thing is Pesach, right? Yom Kippur is half a year later. First thing is chametz. Got to get rid of this one crumb. And you know what the crumb is? It's not forbidden. The crumb is not a terrible thing I did. It just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. Not for you. I want you to know this is the most beautiful thing. The beginning of Masechet Psuchim, talking about language. Right? I want you to open your hearts. The Talmud says Rabbi Yochanan walked in among the priests, and you know there was this showbread. Every Shabbos they would put in 12 little breads, like little rolls. Just remember, 12 little rolls, and there are thousands of priests. How much does one priest get? A crumb. Smallest crumb in the world. You only get it once in your life. Because next Shabbos, other people come, right? So he says he interviewed two young people. He asked the first one, how big was the crumb you got? He says, as big as an antenna of a cockroach. He says, I could swear there's nothing good will ever come of it. Then he asked the other priest, also a young priest, how much did you get? He says, as much as the first ray of the sun in the morning. He says, I could swear that he will be the high priest one day. You see, sadly enough, in my heart it's so deep, I'm sure in yours too. You know what's happening in the world? They don't watch their language. You see what it is? On one hand, Pesach is so much love, right? So you say, okay, say it, anything, 10 times F and 10 times S. No. Last time I flew when I was in Tower, there was a movie, right? It was heartbreaking. So Nebuch Gewalt, heartbreaking. She'd all live long, Nebuch. The husband of this woman Nebuch was killed. So on the way to on the funeral, this is part of the movie, New Age, she's yelling, where's my F-husband, where's my F-husband? And everybody's crying. I didn't cry. I mean, I cried. What do you want to prove, right? What do you want to prove? That you're completely free? Listen, if you want to be completely free, why do you have to go in a toilet, do it on the street? Is there anybody more free than a pig? Always free. That's not called free. That means you don't know who you are. You're not an animal. You're not a pig. You know, what is the deepest knowledge? I have to know I'm God's image. You know why Pharaoh enslaved us? Because he didn't believe that you're God's image. He believes that the slave is a bit higher, maybe 1 inch higher than the pig. Seder night is mamish clear to us. Seder night is clear to us. We're mamish God's image. When I'm God's image, I'm not a slave. When I'm not God's image, a language. I want you to know if someone really knows the Haggadah. Do you think we say bad things about Pharaoh? We don't say bad things about Pharaoh. We should say this F Pharaoh, this disgusting creep, you know, and start cursing him like crazy. I told Sammy, 2 weeks ago, I'm walking on the street corner, a little holy hippolyte comes up to me and says, hey, where's your F synagogue, you know? It's not his fault because this is what they think is called freedom, right? Not freedom. I told you. I think I'm free enough to put my nose in the garbage bin and sit there. It's not freedom. Not freedom. Degrading. Okay, now listen what he says. Say the night, I mean the night before Pesach, before I go out of slavery. Because until you know who you are, what you could be, you're a slave. You're maybe less than a slave. You're nothing. You're nothing. So the night, all above us, the night before Pesach, where God is shining into me, God is shining into me, what I could be, and also shining into me what prevents me. It's just one crumb. It's only one crumb. And it doesn't even hurt. The moment you find the crumb, you put it in a little plate, and the next morning you burn it. You don't have to do tshuva even. See, Yom Kippur is a long process. I'm repenting, and I promise God I'll do this. Just get rid of it. One more thing, this is the deepest depth. I want you to know, say the night, everything which God wants to give me is really coming down from heaven. In fact, I'm sorry?
Everything for the whole year?
Forever. You know, the Zohar Kodesh says that basically say the night, what is shining is really the light of the redemption, light of Mashiach. And even if it takes generations till it really comes out in the open, but it's there already. God gives it to you. Whatever I need, whatever I want, for all eternity is given to you. But therefore, he says, when God gives you so much, the smallest crumb is in the way. The smallest crumb is in the way. I'll tell you on a simple level. I have this girl, my secretary. She has a little crumb of chametz. Does it prevent me from making her my secretary? Why not? So something wrong with her. She's a good secretary. When it comes to marrying her, I'll think it twice. Because to be so close, this one little chametz, this one crumb doesn't belong there. See, the more closer it is, the more this one crumb is disturbing. Then he says, is there any greater joy when God shows me what I can be? Is there any greater joy in the world when God shows me what is preventing me? And just get rid of it. Get rid of it. So therefore he says, and this is the deepest truth. Until the night before Pesach, I'm getting rid of real heavy chametz, which is in my hands. But then there is some chametz which is so deep, I can't even see it. I cannot see it with my eyes. But the night before Pesach, God is showing me even that chametz which I cannot really see. God is showing it. You know, won't you know something, friends? We are so deep, you know. There is one chamber deeper than the other chamber. And I don't know where this crumb is, right? Usually you are looking for it in the wrong place. So say tonight, it is not to be believed. Okay, something very important. You know, one of the greatest gifts God is giving us is imagination. Where would we be without imagination? Somewhere, somebody imagined that there could be an airplane, right? With imagination, right? Brother Columbus imagined there has to be a country somewhere, right? The whole world, the advancement of the world is all based on imagination. What's the difference between a small person and a real big person? Right? A small person has a small imagination. Right? A schlepper doesn't have a single penny and imagines, I have $1,000 in my pocket. Right? Close his mind. You're a little bit bigger, you imagine I have $2 million. Right? When it comes to learning, someone says, oh, give himself a PhD. And someone else has deep imagination. Right? Chametz is the wrong imagination. It's unbelievable.
Is that how powerful he could enslave the Yidden with that?
I'm sorry, what?
Distorted imagination.
It's what?
Distorted imagination.
Distorted. Yeah, you're good. You said the right word most of it.
But Mayor Flynn last night said that means like people who do chronic worrying is distorted imagination because they're not imagining what they could
Also
be.
included, yeah. I mean, whatever you can say is 100%
He said
right.
last night.
Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge.
100%. Because knowledge is only you know what is. Imagination is what could be. 100%.
But the differences of what's in control is the seichel in control of imagination, not the exahar. The seichel's in control and the exahar in control of imagination, and it's harmless, it's good. Right? Leonardo da Vinci invented a helicopter, even though it's impossible for it to fly according to the scientific method. But because he's got an imagination, he was accurate, he could tune into the MS and see it. And that's not harmless. That's
100%. But you know what prevents people from being close to each other? All this crazy imagination. Okay, and imagine I wake up in the morning, that's Shabbos morning, let's say Tzvi comes into shul, I say, Tzvi, good Shabbos. Tzvi says, good Shabbos. But the way I'm imagining it, hey, he didn't say Shabbos so friendly, good Shabbos so friendly. Who knows what he's thinking? Then Abidah, not only he's thinking, he's my enemy. Not only is my enemy, he wants to destroy me. Not only wants to destroy me, he wants to wipe me out. Not only wants to wipe me out, he wiped me out already. You know what anti-Semitism is? It's all imagination. Right? Although you know my Torah about anti-Semites, I say it's unbelievable. They think about us all the time. Right? All they have to do is think good, but what I do with someone who's not an anti-Semite, he doesn't give a damn about us, right? So you see what it is. Why don't I take the poor man into my house? How can you have the heart? Your house is full of food, it's warm, it's beautiful. You see a poor man on the street. How can you have the heart not to take him in? Because of imagination. In fact, I'm not that imagining it, it's true. We said, don't buy it. Right? I also know he's a thief. And I know everything else about him. He's an ex-convict. You know. I know the whole thing. Right? Say the night when I fix my imagination. How can I pass by a poor man without taking him in? And I want you to know something else. God bless you. It goes without saying. Who has the sweetest, most pure imagination? Our children. Children. So Seder night, it begins with the children asking the question. Okay, now I want to just add a few more minutes.
I recall one thing, maybe it doesn't fit in, but you said
What?
the same wording is said in Jerusalem when Rabbi Kahane got killed. He said
Yeah.
he only saw what is, but one must see what could be. Does it say wording?
Who said so?
You,
Oh, I
in
said
the
so.
Israel Center.
Yeah. Ah, that's a good term.
You only told nice things about him, but this was the only thing.
Yeah.
Saying nice things about him.
Only
Yeah,
nice
he said
things.
nice
Yes, only nice things. But this was somewhat different.
You see, he only saw what is, right? He didn't imagine that our biggest enemy suddenly could be our best friends. He was missing this imagination. Yeah. I don't want to say anything bad. Remember I told you, I don't want to say it, but it's true. You know, Crown Heights is terrible, right? Yeah, somewhere beside, again, getting involved, I don't want to say good or bad. I met this black brother. I say, hey, I tapped him on the shoulder and say, hey brother, what's happening? So he says to me, you talking to me? He says, all you brothers in Crown Heights, they don't talk to me. So they realize this is what it is. So I don't want to put the blame on them, but it's give me a little clue.
Oh, did you know Moshe Liebert's going to help do that with a concert?
Yeah, I know.
Did you hear what he said about Crown Heights? I don't know if you heard.
Yeah? Yeah, what did he say? Did you give him my regards? What did he say?
I didn't speak to him directly.
I tell you something. I don't want to brag too much, but it's Chametz, right? But I tell you, a few years, Lillian was
We're
there.
going to see him Saturday night.
I don't know if you remember.
Something. Yeah.
1 second. Remember we were at the Rainbow Gathering in Pasadena? Okay, so it was about 2,000-3,000 kids. Richard Haven was playing from 9 to 12, and Humble Me from 12 to 3. Saturday night. So, first of all, I don't want to say anything bad. The other people made me crazy. He said, go out, Richard Evans, what's this cover there? So people say, quit while you're still ahead. They said to me, a lot of people, don't you see everybody's with him all the way? What are you going to, 12 o'clock, you'll start singing, show me his heart. It doesn't go, right? So people would say, why don't you leave right now before you start and make a fool of yourself? 50% of my friends told me that. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make Havdalah for 3 hours. It was the longest Havdalah ever did. It was the highest. I don't know if you remember.
Who held the candle? That's what I want.
Well, that's a good kasha. Don't. I was really serious, It was awesome, It was awesome. But after the whole thing was over by 3, I really want to know if Richard Haven stayed or he left. So, I'm just about finishing. Mom is the first person who came up to the stage to talk to me, Richard Haven, He started begging, he says, you have the whole world at your feet. It's gewalt, It's gewalt. You see what it is? It took me a long time to learn that we are not bankrupt. We have something to give to the world which nobody has. Nobody has. I remember when I began singing, without mentioning names, I was very friendly with a whole group of black people. And when someone invites me for New Year's evening, a Jew, I say, no, it's not Rosh Hashanah, I'm not going to your party. What did you do Rosh Hashanah night? Did you celebrate? You didn't, forget it. If a non-Jew invites me, 100%. So there was a whole group of black folks invited me, right? And there was 3 of those top rock stars, They had this wild orchestra. And I just came to say, be with them. About 3 o'clock I want to leave. So the master of the house, very cute couple, he says to me, you can't leave, I promised them that at the end you're going to sing. I said, listen, brother, really, don't put me to shame, here are those top rock stars and this way out orchestra, And finally I decided to sneak off.
To what?
To sneak off, just to run off. I didn't have need to play piano with me. Anyway, he was a very cute brother, he was very, very cute. I managed to get my guitar out from the room, and I'm just about walking out, and suddenly someone put me by my ear. So cute. But you know what it was? I was singing with them from 5 till 11:30. It was so holy, we turned on the big lights, we were sitting on the floor with candles, told them Chassidish stories. And you would think that after such a wild night they're not into it. They're always ready, Okay, I'm just saying this. You see, an assimilated Jew is somebody who doesn't believe that we have something to say. Anyway, I'm starting now the Seder. We have about 20 minutes. Learn a little bit. Just remember, friends, we were learning it 1,000 times. What's my first connection to people? What is my first connection to God? Not questions. Not questions. Imagine I meet a person. I don't know who they are, but I just love them. The first meeting is not questions. Say, who are you? Where do you keep your money? Who's your father? Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you Jewish? Are you Catholic? 10,000 questions, right? Doesn't go this way. The beginning is no questions. Just so glad to see you. Oh, later on I can ask you. So the Alexander says the deepest term. The beginning of the Seder is not Manishtan, what's going on here. No. First thing is Kaddish. And this is the most beautiful Torah in the world. He says, you know what holy is? Something which is so holy, I don't dare destroy it with questions. Just says. I'll tell you something. I had this unbelievable experience. I don't know if I walked down with Josh with any of this help. We're walking down to the Holy Wall. And the car comes riding in, an official person, and he comes down to the Holy Wall. And the first person he asks, he says, when was this wall built? Who built it? When built it? And the whole thing, What's his problem? He's not standing by the Holy Wall. You could see a video of Rockefeller sent to me. You come to the Holy Wall, you ask questions. Don't ask. So the beginning is Kaddish. I just want to be so holy. I want to taste the holiness of the world. I want to taste your holiness. And then our children ask questions. And we learned it 1,000 times. But it's just so good to know. Zohar Kodesh says there are questions which have answers. And there are questions which have no answer. But you can ask. But then there are questions which have no answer, but you're not permitted to ask. He says, what is the level of Manishtan with children asking questions? It is basically the questions which have no answer, and you're also not permitted to ask. You know, it means like It's even too personal with God. You have to be so close. You have to be so close. But our children, they're always on the low. Our children asking, and everybody knows a bit, you know what they're asking in a nutshell? They're asking one question. We're celebrating our freedom, and Gewalt are we in exile. Gewalt are we in exile. The whole Torah is from Babana. You know, he says Gewalt after 1492 when they were driven out from Spain, right? How can we celebrate Pesach? I don't know if you know this, when they were driven out from Spain. Never. Do you know that half of the Jews died on the highway? Never. They left. Another country wouldn't let them in. On the highway. Never. Heartbreaking. So, what the answer is in the deepest depths, there's two, as I mentioned before. There's the inside freedom and the outside freedom. What the world can take away from us is the outside freedom. The inside freedom, nobody can take away. I want you to know the old Lubavitcher Rebbe, when he was sentenced to death and then to Siberia, so he was sent to Siberia first. They hadn't decided to shoot him or not, but anyway, they're sending him to Siberia. And you know, Russia is a completely different consciousness like in America. The way they send a person to Siberia, especially an outside person, he's not in chains, but the KGB walking with him, he can't run away, right? So the Chassidim managed, everybody brought a little lumber, and before long there was a stage right by the train. And before the KGB had a chance to see it, the Rebbe was standing on the stage. Thousands of people. And the Rebbe says, I want you to know, only my feet are going to Siberia. My heart is free. He says, so all the Eden, I want you to know, this government has no dominion over our hearts. They have no dominion over our hearts. Inside I'm free. Now listen to this. What is called free? This is just good to remember. Free doesn't mean I can walk around and kill everyone or steal. What's free? This is mamash, the deepest Ishbitz Torah. He says, every day we say, Lord, the soul you gave me is pure. Listen to this. I want to go to San Francisco. So our boarding, by mistake, is shipped to England. And I'm sitting on the deck and I say, oh, it's so beautiful getting closer to San Francisco every day. Looking up to the sky. Someone says to me, you're crazy. You have to go west, you're going east. So you know what I have to do? I have to go all the way back to New York. And then I have to start my journey. He says, imagine I'm getting closer to God, right? Someone says to me, you're completely off. He says, do you think you have to go back the whole way? At that moment we're going to be close to God. I'm already there. I am so free that I'm there. I'm there. The depth is awesome, right? You see, if I think it takes me a long time to get there, I'm already not a free person. I'm right there. So he says, Seder night is not only I'm free. Seder night I celebrate, I'm almost there. Almost there. Now how do I know I'm there? At the end of the Seder, I know Elijah the prophet is coming. Meaning to say, I'm for 2,000 years in exile, and I didn't make it. Tonight I'm there, if I really want to. One more very deep thing. How do I know if I'm really free or not? It's very beautiful. If it takes me a long time to do it, I'm not free. You know why it takes me so long to do it? Because I really don't want to do it. I have to force myself. You know, let's say, I come to someone and says, can you give me $100? And he's looking in his pocket and finds I don't think I have it, I have another jacket. You know what's the problem? He really doesn't want to give it to me, right? If he wants to give it to me, he says, oh, I have it. It's yours. He says, Seder night, everything is fast. Matzah is fast, right? Kibbutz Posen. You know, why did we walk out of Egypt so fast? Because there was not 1 billionth inside left which didn't want to be free. I don't want to say anything bad, you know? Look here, God gave us a holy land. 40 years ago, we're still kratzing around, right? There's still a problem going there. Unbelievable, right? Because we haven't cleansed ourselves here. We're not there. We haven't received the purity of the land yet. Seder night is fast. And also something so deep, you know. When I meet a poor man, and I'm thinking twice, should I invite him to my house? And I say, yeah, I think. It's not Pesach, right? Seder night, I don't even know how he looks like. And just open the window, and I yell, anybody hungry? Come in. I mean, there's no resistance. There is no resistance. And here just want you to know one more thing. Seder night is the night when Avraham Avinu prayed for Sodom. Do you know why I cannot turn Sodom over to be frum, to be mentioned? Because even I had my resistance against being a mensch, right? And the people in Sodom, they might be idiots, but they pick it up right away, right? Oh, you're one of us. Who are you to tell me, right? You know, I tell you something, like, I don't want to say anything bad in Israel. Why didn't we penetrate Shabbos to the masses? Because there is, we are not 100% Shabbosdik either, right? Because if I'm 100%, I can turn anybody on, right? Imagine I would absolutely, really love every human being. Then I can go to the world and say, listen, why didn't you love us also? Right? But they can smell, I'm not 100% either. Say, listen, you're not 100%, I'm also not, right? So I want you to say tonight, there's mamish, hopefully. You know why has no resistance? You got rid of all the chametz. Chametz is tremendous resistance. I don't want to. And here I want you to know something. You know why people die? God forbid. You tell me I want to live forever? There's so much resistance to that too. Eliyahu Novi, you know why he lives forever? Because Eliyahu Novi has no resistance to life. How much wants to live? I want you to know something awesome. Imagine we would x-ray our hearts. How often are we disgusted with life? How often are we disgusted with other people? How often we say, oh, this world is going to the dogs. Each time we're saying this, tasting a bitter. Resisting that. And you know me, mamash alive, right? It's mamash alive. And just remember we're learning last year, the Haggadah was composed by the Yonavi. Because, remember, where did slavery begin? With the tree of knowledge. The greatest slave driver is knowledge. You know why I don't love you? I know so much about you. You know that. And you know why children are the best Seder makers? Because they know nothing. So, hey, what's going on here? Give me the guitar, let's sing one ring, and then maybe someone wants to ask me a good question. And then Sheila, you ready? What? Let's first sing a good ring. What? Yeah.
So when will you do this for him?
5 minutes, and then she's
Is he upstairs also?
Yeah, I know. I don't think anybody's coming. Trevor, shh. 5 minutes. Trevor, please sit down. Sheila, you ready in 2 minutes? Trevor, did I really officially greet my two friends, Amina and Claudia? No. Amina is the queen of Vienna, and Claudia is the queen of Basel, Switzerland. The two greatest queens came here for Pesach, and it's our greatest honor. Listen, you know, you don't have to wait till Pesach till you say, anybody who's a stranger, come to my house, you know. You can start right now. Da, 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 da. hope that some of you, maybe most of you, come to the Seder, a good Seder. Let me ask you something, please. Imagine someone is putting $3 million for you on the table, right? I have to say this gewalt. I want to tell in honor of Sheila's mother one good story. What I mean to say is really keep your heads high and clear. Because what God gives us that night is gewalt, right? Okay, Baramotaret Shenobla, Shabbos, gewalt, right? And the Chassidim going back home. And Motaret Shenobla is 200 years ago. We had great scholars, great Kabbalists, and simple people. So on this one wagon, there were the most awesome Kabbalists. Then also Nebuch Moshe, the water carrier. So the great Kabbalists discussing all the Torahs, deepest secret of the world. And Nebuch Moshe, the water carrier. Nebuch, he doesn't know, right? He just came to fill his heart. And he's reciting the Psalms. Then the Chassidim feel a bit bad, he's on the same wagon. You got to show a little bit something for him also. So one of them says, "Hey Moshe, was it a good Shabbos for you?" They look at each other, what does he know about Shabbos? Moshe says, "It was the greatest Shabbos in the world for me." Yeah? Oh, what happened? He says, 3 o'clock at night, the Rebbe called me in and spoke to me privately. Hey, that's so simple. Private as the Rebbe, 3 o'clock, Friday night. This is 10,000 times paradise. They say, Moshe, what happened? He says, I was by the feast, by the table, and the Rebbe said the deepest Torahs, deepest teachings, and I didn't understand the word. So then I went to the Beis Medrash, and I was sitting in a corner, and I was crying. I said, Master of the world, why didn't you give me the privilege also to understand what the Rebbe says? And I felt so bad, and I was crying. The Rebbe feels everything. Suddenly the Shamas, the Rebbe's right-hand man comes, says, Moshe, the Rebbe calls you. Friday night, alone with the Rebbe, it's not to be believed. And the Rebbe was so much besimcha, He says to me, Moshe, the water carrier, sit down and tell me everything you're doing. He says, what do you do in the morning? I say, Rebbe, I'm a water carrier, and most people are peasants. They wake up 2:30 in the morning, and they need their water. So I'll wake up 2, and then run down to bring water, and I bring water till 5, and then I begin to pray. Rebbe says to me, I understand, but couldn't you at least pray a little bit, when you wake up? For a few minutes? I say, Rebbe, you know how to be a Rebbe, but I know how to be a water carrier, right? Did I tell you how to be a Rebbe, right? I didn't say it so, but I said, Rebbe, this is what the water carrier is all about. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you have to bring water. The Rebbe began laughing. He says, Moshe, you know how you sound? You sound like Chatzkel David from Kaschelivke. He says, Moshe David, Chatzkel David, 1 in million rubles. But he's still a schlepper, right? He has no money yet. He has to go to St. Petersburg to pick it up. Okay, he comes to St. Petersburg, Texas. They take off a few thousand rubles. So he has approximately 900,000 rubles and 95 rubles and 35 kopecks. So he makes 3 bundles. He makes the 900,000 and the 95,000 and the 35 kopecks. Good. and he's too cheap to use it and take the train, whatever it is, he walks. Okay, next Shabbos, he can't keep the money. He goes to the rabbi of the city and he tells him, I won so much money and can you please keep it for me? And the whole Shabbos, the rabbi sees that he's so nervous because what will I do after Shabbos if the rabbi denies that I gave it to him, right? So right 1 second after Shabbos, the rabbi runs into his room, gets us 2 bundles, the 900,000 and the 95 rubles, and he puts it on the table before Moshe. You know what Moshe says? Yeah, but where are the 35 kopekes? He says, you know something? Every night you trust God with your soul. He gives it back to you in the morning. But you don't trust him with your 35 kopekes. So the Chassidim said, we heard a lot of good things, but this is the real thing. Anyway, I want you to know something. When parents are alive, they are giving their children usually 35 kopekes. Sometimes not much more. But when you go up to heaven, then you're not giving your children 35 kopekes. But you are sending their children the 900,000 and the 95 rubles. So
Heaven's echoing.
I want you to. Okay, let's hear it.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank Sammy. I've never been able to ever have the opportunity to learn by the phone, and I appreciate it. Sammy suggested that I talk about the Beruchat Mishnah, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Aleph, which starts off, Eimat Sai, Chorin et Shema B'Arvit. From when onwards are we to read the Shema in the evening? It's a very small little Mishnah, and it's a very simple little question, and it's just dealing with one portion of the day, the evening. The evening, it says so much. And so Rabbi Eliezer says right away, he says from the moment when priests come home, because the priests have to have their tithing, their due, up until the end of the first watch. But then the Chachamim say, the sages, no, this is until midnight. But Rabban Gamliel's sons once came home from a festivity, and so they said, they hadn't recited the Shema, what should they do? And he said, no, you have until dawn to do it, and it's your duty. And so the sage says, well, not only in this case, but all cases where we say until midnight, it's actually inferred that you can do it until dawn. So then another question comes in, why didn't they just say the first 3 stars, And they wanted to bring out that there's a connection with the temple, there's a connection with the priests, and what happens in the evening, and how long can you bring the sacrifice. And the word sacrifice, we've always learned here, really has to do with sanctification. We're always working on trying to get rid of that last bit of hummus, that last bit. And so they go on to say, well, why did they say until midnight? And the answer was to try to keep a person from committing a sin. Because to be able to recite the Shema is such a mitzvah that the whole Kriyat Shema starts the whole liturgy off. And in Hasidus, Sammy was explaining to me that the emphasis is on the Ema, because that's that sense of fear. And basically what Hasidus is trying to teach us is that we have to say it with the idea, when will I be able to achieve the greatness of my ancestors? When will I, like Rabbi Eli used to say, can you imagine that they thought about every little aspect and hours and every little, when to do this and why not to do this, and this is, Hasidus is saying the same thing. It's a connection to the priests, to the whole idea of
Truma. It's also a connection to who we are, like Shlomo was just saying, to our roots. And it's also a way of our getting the heavenly yoke, receiving it so that we can serve God. And also, I noticed that it's the 175th mitzvah, and I was thinking, for those people who like Gemara, you know, the one God, the 7 is the 7 patriarchs, the 5 can be linked to Jacob and its ferret, and 1 and 7 and 5 equals 13 is 1, and we always know there's no accidents. And Sammy was pointing out that there's always a difference between how Hasidus looks at things and how the Misnagdim looks at things. The Misnagdim looks at it like, you know, when you eat, when the priests eat, that time period, that we're connecting it to the past, and yes, it's food for the body, but it's also sustenance for the neshama, and it's holy food, and it was a whole spiritual thing. But Hasidus is very down to earth, like the Kutzkel. He always said, you know, the gut. He wanted to know about the gut. And the Hasidim, Sammy was saying, say, if you want to see how someone reads the Krishma, you have to watch them when they eat. That's why it's so important to be with Hasidus with the Rebbe's Tish, because how you eat is, you're not eating, you're elevating the food. Yet eating is done here. It's very important to be in this world. And we have to remember that when we call out the Shema, we're calling it out, and we're calling it out in a way to know that we cannot go beyond this world. We have to be in it. We have to integrate ourselves into this world. And so we have the spiritual sustenance, which again, we're talking about evening. And the evening, we've had so many lessons from Shlomo about how it's the darkest period of the night. It represents the exile. It's harsh. And we need something that will give us the strength and the sustenance to get us through the night. So it's a good thing for us, it's a bad thing, because our day starts in the night. So it's like right away we're given a tool, you know, because it's like we have a way of starting. We're starting at the night, so we know we're going to get through it because we have the day to look forward to. There's that potential there. And so the Hasidus says, don't transcend, like Ms. Nagin say. Don't take this and make it a lofty thing. You know, you're here because you have to be shown how to live. So you use the food as a way of saying we are nourishing the body, we're elevating the food. Now, my mother's name was Malka, which has to do with kingdom, Malchut, and she passed on right after the Seder. It was the first time in 2 weeks that we had left her because we had to do the Seder, and we came back, and she was just leaving this world. And it was a very awesome thing because this was 10 years ago, and it was like she purposely was waiting until Pesach. She did not want us to have to sit shiva. She did not want us, I mean, I can't even do a whole thing for her because you're not allowed to do this in the month of Nisan. And she did this on purpose because when she was born, she had polio. And as a child, she was called a cripple, and she was a tiny little 4 feet 8 woman. She was told she could not have children because she was paralyzed on her left side. She told my father, if I don't give you a child by the end of the first year, you can divorce me. She went on to have 8 healthy children. She taught us how to pray. She taught us that you have to look beyond what a person is, that you cannot, you're in this world, you have to live in this world, you have to be responsible for each other. You have to not look at what a person is on the outside, you have to go beyond. And mamish, every year it's like I get more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And I always thought my father was the holy one, the Kabbalist. And I realized my mother was the chassid. She was the one, because she knew how to live in this world. And I'm very grateful, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, we are grateful to you, darling. Come, let's say Kaddish together with Sheila. Come here. Stand next to me, darling.
Now, can I provide, should I do it though what I'm supposed to, or is it okay to do it today?
No, I'll say it with you. Okay, can you stand? Gadu is Kadash Merabo. Omedochuse Yamlech Mochuse. V'yatma Pokone V'kore Meshiche. Chayechan Yamecha Chayel Kol Beit Yisroel. Agol Vid Makole V'Yikruve.
Amen. Hey Shmerabo.
Don't you know when a little boy is initiated in the covenant of Abraham, then Avraham Avinu comes in the light of the prophet. So Rabbi Leibniz Eger says every Seder night, mamish, all of Israel is initiated in the covenant with God. So Avraham Avinu, it's a Seder, right? But Elyonovi comes at the end. So it's very, very special. You know what it means, getting rid of the Chametz? Chametz is old, right? Because it's from yesterday, right? Matzah is now, right? The most terrible, the most non-Jewish thing in the world is to be old. The most slave kind of thing, right? Remember the Kotzker Rebbe says, if I'm a Jew today, because I was a Jew yesterday, I might as well not be at all, right? Whatever I do today, because I did it yesterday, imitation, it's not the real way. So, say the night, Snow has to be for the first time. Well, you know something? Imagine I'd never heard my children talk. For the first time, my children open their mouths and talk. Blow my mind, right? Someone Ishtana is the first time. And also imagine children would have never heard their parents talk to them. They'd be so happy. My parents are talking to me. Oh, thank you so much. And also, this is an Ishbitza. You know, if I would have never seen a poor man on the street, imagine. I didn't know there's such a thing as poverty. I walk in the street and I see a poor man. Gewalt, he came to my house fast. I see you're hungry, you don't feel good, right? Why don't I take a poor man into the house? Because I said 5 yesterday, 10 the day before, and 200 the day before, right? Doesn't even register anymore. Seder night is Ramesh for the first time. And you see Seder night, we hope Elijah the prophet is coming, and bring peace to the whole world. Because all the hatred in the world is because of yesterday. Everything is yesterday. So God should give us mamash unbelievable newness. Chadashim and Yikerim.
Amen.
Okay, Sammy, what's Sammy? Come here fast. Yeah, okay, let's. Okay, Sammy, make the announcement.
So take a picture.
We learned something for all year long, so now we have to do the deep and then So actually, almost said it's the Durham, with the Russian. Mamish needs everybody's help. Everybody's part of yeshiva is free in this world, yeah? So, and we also need to go upstairs and help a little bit.
Okay, now let me enlighten you, friends.
Okay.
Sadly enough, it's I don't know whose fault it is, but the real huge books, sadly enough, we don't use so much. I wish we would. We're not on the level. So the big Gemaras, the big Shchonos, we don't use. This Siddurim and all those books on this shelf we use. So if you can appoint maybe 3-4 people who, you know what you do? I'll tell you what you do. I learned it from my parents when I was 2 years old. You take a book, you go like this. Just 2-3 times and that's it. Put it
Upstairs
back.
you need your smart.
Yeah. Okay. You appoint Chava.
Please, this is part of learning. Let's still learn.
Chava, please. We need, leave those books here on the table. We need some 2 or 3 Chava to you know, do this with some Ausluften books here. Not the huge books because we didn't use them. Over there, and the rest, if anybody, all we need is about 15 minutes to come upstairs and put all the books in the bookshelves. That's it. And that's it. Peace.
So, in the Chumash also, yeah?
Yeah.
I just got into the proper sang song. This whole like the only one song. And we all laughed at it. I wrote down such a big laugh at it.